site that I run with my wife. We support, equip, and encourage marriage in the African American community. In TSP, we do the same thing, but we do it for entrepreneurs, specifically in the Black community, in the African American community, in the community that's hurting right now, in a community that's going through pain right now, in a community that's trying to figure out how to transition, what's next, what is it that we should do. And that's why we're having a very special conversation, a town hall of sorts today, where I'm bringing 3 people from inside of our communities that I think we need to hear from, right? And I'm letting y'all know this is a family conversation. So like everything we do, we really don't do things and create it for everybody to get a hold of it. We have a specific mission across all the brands that we have to uplift, support, and encourage families, Black families, specifically, right, in the African American community. If anybody else want to get on with it, I'm totally down with that. But we focus on Black folks, and that's exactly what we're doing today, and that's exactly why we are here. A few housekeeping things before we get started, and I want to, in a second, I'm going to tell you exactly what you can expect from today in these next few conversations. First thing I'm going to tell you is that you probably won't agree with everything that you hear from everybody that comes on this platform today. And you know what? That's good. That's cool. That is totally fine. That is totally all right. We do not all think alike. And that is totally fine, right? As a people, we are not all think alike. We're not monolithic. We do not all walk in the same step. But the thing is that everybody you see on this platform has the same goal for our community at the end, and that's what's important, including myself. Number 2, like I said, I want you to actually make sure that you are sharing and amplifying this conversation that we're having today. So we need you to be engaged, right? We're going to take some questions. We're going to have some conversations. But I want you to share it on your personal pages. I want you to share it on other platforms you have. I want you to put it into the groups that you're a part of so that we can make sure we can leverage this and get as many people to hear the messages that we have today as humanly possible. And then number 3, I just want to kind of tell you and let you know what the expectation is for today. I have a few very special people. In a second, I'm about to bring on Precious Bivings, right, Coach P. And we're going to talk about how you can process all the thoughts and emotions that you're having right now. And you know, I asked the other day in our Traffic Sales and Profit Facebook group, like, are y'all all right? Like, what are you feeling right now? And I heard words like anger. I heard painful. I heard I'm tired. I'm disgusted, right? I'm ready to just go crazy. I'm ready to break some stuff up. I'm ready to hug and hold my children and hold them hard. If any of you guys feeling like that, you feeling like that, do me a favor, drop a comment down below. So we're gonna talk about, you have all those feelings. How do you actually process them? Like what is a way for you not to be overcome with the anxiety, the fear, and all these other things that are going on, and still be able to move forward with the things you need to move forward in life as we go. Then after that, I'm bringing a good friend of mine, Lawrence Watkins, to the actual platform. Lawrence is the president and COO of the Black Business School. He's COO of Great Black Speakers. And he has something in mind that he is working on and thinking about pushing out. But with everything that's happened over the last, I guess like 3 to 4 days, right, that's really turned up, he has rolled this out, put it into the platform, and we are going to be sharing that with you guys to make sure you get a hold of it, to make sure you can understand what it is. And what I love about it is that it's not just talk, it's actual action. Like, how can we as a people become more powerful so that we have more leverage, we have more voice, and we can do more towards what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve in this actual community, right? And like I said, the talk stops. Anybody knows me, I'm all about action. So when he created something and it had the teeth of action in it, right? And it's still early stage, but it has the teeth of action in it. I was very interested in it. And then third, last but not least, I have a good friend of mine, Aiyana Ma'at. She is coming to talk about how our community can put down pretenses and preconceived notions around therapy. Because how many of you know that right now, we need therapy, we need help, right? We need resources. This is very traumatic, right? And it's been traumatic for life. Like a lot of you watching saying, Lamar, I've lived a traumatic lifestyle up until this point, and it just continues to increase. So we're going to talk about how you can get the actual help that you need in order to, like I said, like have somebody that understands it, can give you professional assistance on how to process exactly what it is that you're going through and what it is that you're doing. So we got a jam-packed schedule. I want to make sure I bring on my first guest. Again, if you're just joining us, my name is Lamar Tyler, creator and founder of Traffic Sales and Profit. I'm also the co-founder of blackandmarriedwithkids.com. So we are broadcasting and streaming across all of our platforms on Facebook, on YouTube, everywhere we are. We are sending this out. I want to know who you are. Do me a favor, drop me a comment. Let me know who you are and where you're from down in the actual chat. I want to know who's watching with us today. And while we're doing that, I'm going to bring to the stage our first guest. Our first guest, Precious Bivings, especially known as Coach P, is a recognized mindset performance coach, acclaimed MC, TEDx speaker, and host who helps influencers, leaders, and badasses grow from stuck to a success mindset. Her straight shot, no chaser approach allows for authentic self-reflection that undoubtedly leads to eliminating your limiting beliefs, that impact your success on every level. Her coaching practice, Surrender, Work, Live, Coaching and Accountability, is the vehicle she uses to empower leaders to eliminate excuses and mash the gas in order to make amazing success happen. She is the host of the highly anticipated MashCon 2020 conference, the More Retreat for Leaders, Influencers, and Badasses, and the author of the self-help memoir, More Tequila, Please, Life Lessons on Heartbreak, Triumph, and Making Amazing blank happen, right? Let's do that. To connect with Coach P, you can visit her on her website, MashCon ATL, and then I'm sure she'll give you more resources and ways you can connect with her as well. And I see you guys coming to chat. Keep those comments coming in. I want to know who you are, where you're from. Without further ado, let's bring in Coach P, aka Precious Bivings. What's up, Precious? How are you today?
Hey, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. I'm grateful to be here. I didn't mean to have you saying amazing so many times.
Yeah, you got to do better with that bio. You've got to do better with that bio.
I'm super grateful to be here. I am excited. I'm rooted and grounded, and just grateful that I'm in a space where I can share my perspective on how we can go higher in this space. So, how are you today?
You know what? I'm determined. How about that? I'll say that's a word, right? Because I'm determined. Whenever crisis comes, what I'm determined to is make sure that my people get through it okay.
Yeah,
So that crisis doesn't matter if it's COVID crisis. It don't matter if it's riots in the streets, like whatever it is. I want to make sure my people are good to go and that they have what they need. And that's why I'm thankful for you and the other experts that are coming to the table today so that we can do exactly that, make sure our community has what they need in order to move forward, in order to progress along what they need to progress along. Because even though all this crazy stuff is going, like people still got kids, right?
absolutely.
And your kids not only need to be aware and know about this conversation going on, but they still got to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like they still got to move forward. Some of you still got to wrap up the school year, right? So like how do we do all of this stuff when there's so much craziness going on? And I'm just curious, like before we even get started, like what are you hearing? Because I know you're having conversations with people. You've been speaking on some different platforms already. Like what are you hearing in relation to how people are feeling and processing what's actually happening?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll start with what I'm hearing just from my 16-year-old. You know, she has friends who parents have different perspectives, and hearing her frustrated, almost to tears, and then reminding her, you know, of how she can show up and contribute in this space has been important. We're in Atlanta, and so there's a lot of anxiety around what's happening in the city. There's a lot of disappointment, frustration. There's a lot of people feeling helpless, feeling exhausted, feeling tired, feeling like what can I do? What am I supposed to do in order to contribute to this? I'm hearing a lot of people also, just like you, who are determined, who are clear, who are ready, who are saying this looks bad, this looks crazy, but I know we're going to another level because for every opportunity where we feel, contrasting experiences, there's another opportunity for us to move in the direction of us showing up knowing that we are who we've been waiting for, as you often say. So I've been seeing it on both sides of the fence and glad that I have been, because that just shows the array of emotions that's happening in this time and space.
All right. So I love that. And as we talk about these emotions, right? So for one, you know, I'm always big to say, even when I talk about my own emotions, right? Or when sometimes emotional, not emotional, right? Always big to say that I think that everyone processes things in their own way.
Sure.
And I'm real clear on that, right? Everybody processes things in their own way. And one of the things I've seen a lot of, and can we be real?
Absolutely,
Right,
please.
let's get to it, y'all. And I want y'all to be real in the comments too. Like I said, some stuff you may agree with, some stuff you may not. Let's jump into it. One of the things I've been seeing, and like I said, I'm not even talking about people outside of our community, but inside of our community, is a view on how we feel others should feel in this, right? And I know, like outside of just in the work you do, period. A lot of times it's something we feel in our relationships, right? Like I'm in a relationship, I'm romantically in a relationship with somebody, and I think they should feel this way because I feel this way or that feel this way. I think they should process things the way I process things. But we're not seeing that with our Facebook friends and social media friends. We may not see that with our coworkers when some of us have to go back to work tomorrow, right? We may not see that in our own families with our mothers and fathers or our husbands and wives or our children, right? Because the kids think they know everything. So our children, right? Like how do you deal with people? What do you tell people when they're upset because people don't see things through the same lens that they see it through?
Yeah, that's probably one of the most inflammatory perspectives right now that are getting a lot of people like fired up. It's like, well, this person doesn't see it like I see it. You should be able to see it, see my pain the way that I see this pain. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is to not take any of this personal. Everybody has their own experiences. Everybody has their own perspective, and everybody has their own contribution to this cause. I think that's one of the most important things for all of us to recognize, is that not every single person is going to be outside with a sign. Not every single person is going to be able to be a judge to change to change laws, or or an attorney to fight in a courtroom. Not every person is going to be a police officer. Not every person is going to be down at the protest. Doing those things, but understanding that what you do, your genius, what you contribute, is not only enough, but it's impactful. And what that looks like for me is being able to honor, because it was a question that I had for myself, especially when the Ahmaud Arbery murder happened. That was a jolting experience for me, although I had felt it with Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown and Sandra Bland and all of the many people that came before Ahmaud. That Ahmaud Arbery situation was like, wait a minute, we seen this instance happen on video, and I couldn't even watch the video, but just hearing the descriptions of it, as a person who's in this mindset development space, I was triggered on all levels, and I felt like there was a specific way that I was supposed to show up based on the projections of other people. And, it's no different. Like if you have a parent who dies, or somebody who dies close to you, and you don't cry at the funeral like everybody else, so all of a sudden that must mean you don't love that person, and that's absolutely not true. But so when that situation happened with Ahmaud, it triggered something in me, and it caused me to respond differently still than most people were responding. Most people were responding with anger and frustration. And I sat with it for a minute. I took the time that I needed to take, not just as a mindset performance coach in this space of, mental health, but and personal development, but also as a woman, and as a Black woman, as a Black mother, as a Black sister to a Black man. And so I showed up in this space of gaining clarity for myself. And in that clarity, I was able to recognize that my contribution, and this was through prayer and meditation, I was able to really get clear on, like, God, what's up? What are we supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? What is Precious Bivings supposed to do in this space? And what I heard very clearly was that my contribution in this mindset, personal development space, for us, by us, very unique perspective that I get to offer, is a part of my contribution. And so yesterday I was on a podcast, and I was talking about this, and I mentioned you, Lamar, and Ronnie, and I also mentioned some other Black entrepreneurs, and how Traffic Sales and Profit, Black and Married with Kids, this is a movement that's been going on. It's a contribution that's made every single day. And so when people don't see you post a picture, or they don't hear your voice, what they miss is the work you've already done and you continue to do, you and your family, the sacrifices that y'all make to make sure that Black entrepreneurs get to show up in this space of empowerment, of clarity, and of actual wealth, right? And so what I want people to know more than anything is that how you show up, right? Whatever it is that you're a genius, if you're a manager at McDonald's, if you're a head of a janitorial department, you're a principal at a school, that is a part of your contribution, and it's going to look much different than anybody else's, and that's okay. James Baldwin showed up in this space of, he had real conflict about not being on the front lines. There were a lot of Black civil rights people that was pointing him out. Where you at, James? Why you ain't saying nothing? And James said very clearly, listen, I am showing up. I'm showing up in the universities when they ask me to interview, right? I'm showing up in these poetry books. I'm showing up in this literary area. I am showing up in this space. And now we still get to hear his voice way past the riots that was happening during his time, way past the marching that was happening during his time. We now still get to eat from that perspective that's still very much so timely. So I want more than anything for people to hear that you get to show up however it is best for you to show up, so that you can make that contribution. And I know we'll talk about later on, additional ways to do that. But I want to say that off the top. The other thing is that it is absolutely normal. I want you guys to hear this. It is absolutely normal to feel anger, to feel frustration, to feel helpless, to feel disappointed, to feel even numb. It's normal to feel like, what am I supposed to do? It's normal not to have the answers. It's normal to be in this space. That's not a far-fetched thing. A lot of people have decided, listen, I have to cut it off so that I can show up for my family in this way, because otherwise I'm going to be stuck in the bed, stuck in this state of sadness, stuck in this state of disappointment. And so you get to pull back. You get to pause and say, wait a minute. I have to reserve my energy for today. I got to make a different decision about what I allow to come in. I'm going to stay off social media today. I'm going to stay away from the news today, and I'm going to pull back. And so you get to do that as well. But I want you to hear that it is absolutely normal. I speak to so many different type of leaders on different levels, and all of them are challenged with the same thing. What do I do? And understanding that what you're already doing is a part of that contribution, I think is very important and necessary.
So I love that. And real quick, let me tell you guys again, right? If you're just joining us, my name is Lamar Tyler, creator and founder of Traffic Sales and Profit. We help black entrepreneurs build their businesses. Let me give you this in a nutshell. Also the co-founder with my lovely wife, Ronnie, who's not on with me today, right? But we co-founded 12 years ago, blackandmarriedwithkids.com, the world's largest African-American marriage and parenting site to uplift, support, and encourage marriage in the black community. We make no bones about that, right? Some people outside the community have problems with it. We don't care. Some people in the community have problems with it. We don't care. We ain't been caring. We've been doing this. All right.
Yeah.
I'm joined right now with Coach P, right, a.k.a. Precious Bivings from Surrender, Work, Live, Coaching, and Accountability. We're talking about how you guys can process all the things you may be feeling. What are the things you can do? How can you move forward? And then we got 2 additional guests coming up in just a moment as well to talk about more. Coach P, so I think what you said was important, right? Because I think there's a thing, right? Like I said, where I think everyone is looking for what are the ways I can impact and contribute more. And that's amazing. But while we should look to encourage people to do more, I don't think shaming them to do more actually works, right? We shame other people in our community. I would say, how can we inspire them to do more? I would say, can we create actual paths for them to do more? So that maybe everybody isn't an actual leader to stand in the front, but if the leaders step up and create a path and a vehicle for other people to get on board, then perhaps they'll get on board with it that way. And I also want to draw a line and distinction, right? And I told y'all, everything you hear today, you may not agree with. I'm sorry, we're being real. But, right, just because people talking on Facebook do not mean they are doing anything. And I don't know how to be more clear about that. And I'm making a distinction, right? I have no problem with people voicing themselves and voicing their emotions or whatever. But what I think was easy to get caught up with on social media is that, all right, if somebody is talking a lot on Facebook or on Twitter or Instagram, and these other people are not, then the other people must not be in action. And what literally could be happening is that the other people are in action and don't have time to be on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, pontificating about everything that can happen. So not that is wrong, but again, I want to make sure that we are supporting and encouraging and holding each other up and not tearing each other down about what we actually perceive people may or may not be doing without having any idea in the world what's actually going on. And without realizing the fact that, like I said, we all process these things differently. We all take it in differently, and it all comes back out of us in a different manner. And what that help and support looks like is different from us all. And Coach P, if I can think about it, right, what it reminds me of is, I talk about business and stuff like that. And even though I'm hardcore entrepreneurship and I want to build all these 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure beyond black businesses, I also realize that there's a place for us and for those who take the corporate route. I realize that there's a need for people to go in and break down glass ceilings and for them to rise. So while I'm coming from the outside lane through entrepreneurship, I need brothers and sisters that's about it, that have MBAs, because I sure ain't got one, that have doctorates, right?
That's right.
And that are going through the front door while I'm coming from the side, right, and building my thing up next door. I want them to be able to go through the front door, go through the ranks, and become CEOs of traditional businesses that and given access that we normally wouldn't have access to before. So everybody has a different path and different partners to play. I want to make sure people realize that. And I think the goal is for you to figure out what your actual path is and to do something.
Absolutely.
To do something. And judging people on social media ain't something. I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah.
Coach P, those are not the words of Coach P. She did not approve or vet that.
But I'm in 100% agreement of it, 110% agreement of it, because what I do believe is that we actually do the movement more harm than good when we use our energy to judge and chastise people who are not showing up in a way that we are. So I agree with you 110%. And I also would like to say, in terms of how we show up, for everybody who's joining, thank y'all for being a part of this conversation. What's necessary from my perspective for us, right? Because I'm not gonna be, you won't see me on news with a sign. You won't see me marching down the street. Not at this time. That may change later, right? But my greatest use of my time and energy to add to our collective is making sure that we, one, know that we're worthy to show up in this space, regardless of what we see on TV, regardless of what we see on news, that we know that we're entitled to live a delicious, successful, abundant life experience, that we know that we don't have to train our children. No longer is it necessary to continue to use that same previous mindset of thought that we have to train our children to be to work double time smarter and to be double smart and work harder just to be added to or fit into their society or their narrative, whoever they are. But that we show our children excellence from the inside out, from our household up, that they see us owning and being in this space of creating for ourselves. And then not only that, right? Also, because we have the capacity, because we're in abundance, is to show up in this space where we honor, respect, and love our culture, and also collaborate with those outside of our culture when necessary. I think that's also a part of this, because in this, I've heard a lot of people say, Lamar, like, man, I feel like I can't trust white people right now. I feel like I can't do business with white people right now. I feel like, this is not going to be a space where I can continue to bring white people as a part of my team, as a part of my business. And the biggest part about that is when you understand that you are in abundance, you can do both. No different than as a mom to my teenage daughter. I'm going to make sure that in my household, Brittany is fed and she eats first, right? That's how I see our Black community, as a thought leader, as a mindset performance coach, as somebody who is in this industry. I show up in this space of honoring our community and our needs, because my perspective is unique in that way to and for and about us. And then anybody else can most certainly get it, but I'm going to feed my household first. I'm going to feed my daughter first, and then I'm going to make sure y'all kids get it, right? And so it's the same thing within us, that we have the capacity not to have to choose my Blackness or a collaboration with someone who doesn't look like me, but that we can also still take the time to recognize that Black lives do matter, that this issue is one that heavily impacts us, and that also when the time is right and necessary, when we need to, we can collaborate with those outside of us without holding on and hoarding this energy of hate and this energy of frustration toward an entire race or culture of people, no matter if it's Asian, Caucasian, Hispanic, whatever that is. But when we come from this very limited place, when we come from this very and or place, then it limits our opportunity to expand and impact the very movement that we care so much about. And so I think it's super important for us to be willing to show up in this space of honoring and owning where you individually are. And for one, being okay with it not looking like what someone else is saying they're doing on social media. Because whatever you can do on social media cannot far pass or supersede what you can actually do in your everyday life. That is the point I want to make.
I love it. Let me know if y'all are getting this. Hey, if you are, do me a favor, drop some comments, drop some emojis or something down below, give us some hearts, some likes or something. Also want to make sure you're sharing this conversation on your page. We're just getting started. I got two more heavy hitters coming to the stage. Like I said, we want to help you guys process and get through this, everything that's going on, everything that you're feeling, everything that you're dealing with, the frustration, the anger, the hurt, the pain, the fear, whatever you got. We want to make sure we help you get to a better place by the time we're done with this conversation today. And we know that everything will not be done, everything will not go away, but we want to make sure we are productive, right? Productive in this actual conversation as we move forward. And Coach P, as you were saying that, something that thank you, Donna. Thank you, Victoria, right? See everybody in the chat. Something that struck me too, right? As we going through this, I want people to know that, like I said, I want everybody to aspire to do more, whatever more is on your level. But again, right, I want people not to know that I don't care what people are saying on Instagram. I don't care what people are saying on Twitter or Facebook, right? If protesting is your thing and you want to be out there, don't let nobody make you feel like your protesting is in vain, right?
That's right.
If I can say that. If donating money is what you want to do or part of what you want to do, don't make anybody let you feel like that's not what you should be doing or that's not enough. Because believe me, like, money's going to be needed.
Absolutely.
Like, money is going to be needed in any struggle, any part of the process, right? It's somebody that got to come through and write some checks.
Absolutely.
To create some things.
Yeah.
To secure some things, to get some people out of situations that they're in, right? Money
Absolutely.
is actually needed. I want to make sure that nobody and I don't say, because people gonna say this stuff no matter what, right? But the thing is, I want you guys to have the mental fortitude that you can shut people off and you do what you got to do for you, your family, and this community, right? So that don't let anybody make you feel bad for having empathy for
That's
business
right.
owners that lose their businesses, right? Because I know that's the big thing. Like, oh, we shouldn't care. Now I care. I care that people losing their businesses when I see a black brother crying because of everything he put into his business and his business is gone.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I know how hard it was for that brother to get financing, to get funding, to fight with the banks.
Yeah.
And even though all his financial stuff was probably straight, to still try to convince them and beat them down that, yeah, my financials is straight. Yeah, my profit and loss is good. Yeah, my credit's straight. Why the hell is still hard for me to get this actual loan? And still
Absolutely.
get it, and for him to lose it. So do I got empathy for him? Yeah. Right? I know how hard. You can say, well, who care about the businesses? Let me tell you this, like the only business getting burned down ain't all big conglomerates and corporations. It's black
Exactly.
women out here getting their businesses burnt down. So can you have empathy for them? Yeah, don't let anybody tell you or let you think that you can't have empathy for people that are out here that are trying to do their best every day in life. Because I know out there it's a sister whose business got burnt down, whose business got looted or tore up, and it might not even been by a different black person, but that's a different conversation.
Exactly.
But right, that's a different conversation. It might have
Yeah.
been somebody white threw the brick through that window, but that's a different conversation. But I know somewhere, right? Like I've literally, it's sisters out here whose businesses are being turned down, and I work with sisters who building businesses every day, so I know what they
Every
put
day.
into it. I know the
Absolutely.
sacrifices they make. I know the financial sacrifices. I know the sacrifices in the lives of their families and their children they make to show up every day for that business. So
Yeah.
if I look at that business and know that these sisters already been hurt because of COVID, already been hurt because of the economy, and then they lost everything. You say, well, Lamar, guess what? Well, them black women, they should have insurance, right? But I know also the small businesses a lot of times are underinsured. So
Absolutely.
even if they get the insurance money, it's not enough to actually backfill and put everything back in that store, in that salon, in that whatever it is that they had before. I know also
Absolutely.
that some of these black sisters could easily be, or black men could easily be single parents, like the single parent household I grew up in. And I couldn't imagine if my mother had a business, then one day that business was gone like that. On the heels of COVID, on the heels of the economy and everything else, and everybody telling her she shouldn't be tripping. So can
Exactly.
you have empathy? Yeah. Don't let nobody tell you you can't. Man, who cares?
Absolutely.
And this what I'm gonna say. Coach P, normally I don't talk this much during interviews. You gotta excuse me.
No, no, no.
But
I'm glad. Go for it.
this what I'm gonna say, man. Who cares what people are saying on social media? Right? Like I said, you find the lane for you to step up and do more. And I want to encourage all of you to just do that. Step up and do more. Say, where's my lane? Where can I fit? Like, where can I be of value? And who cares what anybody else's opinion of it is? Who cares
Exactly.
if you don't come on and you ain't, and let me give you permission right now. You ain't gotta come on social media and tell nobody Nathan that you're doing. Not a single daggone thing in order to make somebody else feel better or to validate them in all the crap they got going on in their lives about what they should think. Because again,
Yeah.
most of the people talk the loudest ain't doing nothing, ain't been doing nothing, and after this ain't gonna do nothing. And even if they doing nothing now for a minute, 2 weeks from now they'll be done. I'm not
Yeah.
supposed to be talking. I'm supposed to be interviewing. I'm sorry. I got another. Look, I took all your time up. P. I'm sorry. We got to come back. So, all right. Give some people. I know I saw earlier down in the comments. Some people they wanted to know like what are some action steps or things they can do, because you talked about them processing the movement. Like what are some actual things they can
Yeah.
do, P?
Yeah, yeah. Don't try to cut me off, Lamar, because you went ham just then. You had to bring it in. And I'm glad you did. I'm so glad you did, because I think it's necessary for us to hear that. And I agree 110% that just like we shared, if y'all just joining and you missed what I shared on the first half, you're gonna have to hit the replay, because Lamar does have other speakers coming. But I want y'all to know that whatever you're feeling, it's okay. That's number one. But the way a few things that you can do, and please somebody type this in the comments, right? Number one is disconnect when you need to, right? That's the first thing. If you need to disconnect from the news, from social media, from conversations with family and friends, neighbors, whatever it is, it's okay for you to disconnect. Number two, connect, right? Connect with the people, the groups, the conversations, the collectives, the family members that uplift, that help fill your cup, that help take your energy from having to focus in on what's happening. My brain is going. Lamar got me fired up, y'all. So Make sure that you show up in that space where you connect with those things, those situations, those people, the literature, the podcasts that fuel you positively, right? Is enough information that's going to get you fired up and get you ready to go. So when necessary, disconnect from that and connect with those things that you need. The other thing is gain clarity, right? Like I said, whatever your current genius is, black entrepreneur, black business, black corporate exec, black manager at McDonald's, the janitor at the high school, the principal, from the least to the greatest of them, no matter what, the sanitation workers, right? No matter what your position is, your contribution is super important to what it is that we're doing. How you show up, the bus drivers, the teachers, how you show up is super important. So make sure that you gain clarity on what your contribution already is, right? Because you may have a feeling of like, man, I need to do more. I need to do more. But the truth is, as you take a look at what you're doing and you start to amplify that, you will find most times that you're already doing enough. Just keep going higher in your own genius and in your own role and responsibility that you currently possess. And that's okay. And it is enough. The other thing is meditate, right? Go outside. Yesterday, I took my shoes off, found some shade in my backyard. I put my feet to the ground and I got grounded. I prayed, I meditated, I listened to my playlist that really takes me to that space, right? So show up in that space of using meditation, prayer, whatever your thing is, right? And then also therapy. Lamar is bringing on some amazing guests to talk about therapy, but I am a coach. I am a mindset performance coach in this personal development industry. And I have an amazing sister of a therapist. And she's not my sister, but she's a therapist who is a sister. And the conversations that we get to have in my sessions about myself as a black leader, as a black thought leader, and how I get to show up in this space at large is important. And so make sure that you show up. And if you already have a therapist, make sure that you take advantage of that and connect with coaches and leaders who are already in this space. And then also give money, right? To Lamar's point, if money is your thing, by all means, give it. A part of my contribution to this is also mindset and perspective and creating safe space for us to be unapologetically black and to say what it is that we feel and that we need to say in this world at large. But also I contribute financially. Yesterday I gave to an organization called Until Freedom, sent them a cash out because they're out in Minneapolis protesting and being arrested, and they're hungry and they need food and they need water and they need money for legal representation. So I shot them a cash app. That is my contribution. And so my daughter said, hey, Mom, are we going to go in March? No, I'm not going to go in March because my contribution is this. But we also want to send love and light to those who are out there. So I want you to hear more than anything today that just because how you're showing up is different than other people doesn't mean that you're not showing up at all. And what you're doing is absolutely enough.
I love it, y'all. I hope you got all of that. Again, thank you, Coach P, for joining us, aka President Bivings. Hey, Coach P, where can they find you, or if they want more information or they just want to connect with you, be encouraged by you, where can they actually find you at online?
Yeah, I have an amazing, beautiful community that is over 1,100 risk-taking, manifesting life creators called the MASH Collective. That's MASH, and it's the MASH Collective on Facebook. So if you guys go over there, I'm giving the goods every single day to help us shift our perspective, our mindset, and raise the collective cultural vibration of self-love, self-honor, and self-worth for us, by us.
All right. Thanks so much, Coach P. We appreciate you. We got to have you back on soon. You know that. So thank you. Have a great day. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. I got another amazing guest coming up in just a second, right? How can we get these ideas together and actually mobilize these black ideas to provide resources around them so that we can get to the next level, right? As we transition to the next guest, I got something I want you to see first. I'm just going to encourage you. I'm a big believer, right? And for those of you, just maybe your first time being a part of anything I've done and being around, but I'm a big believer that if we want change, if we want to shift, and this is what, I don't have to do a lot of extra talking right now because this is what I talk about all the time. If we want shift, if we want change, right, we have to change the economics of our actual communities. That means we got to build business, we got to build wealth, and we have to position ourselves differently. And that's just a small fraction of the conversation we're about to have. But in the meantime, like I said, what I want to do is show you something from one of the movies that we've done that I think will encourage you, begin to actually enlighten you in some areas while I bring our next guest on. So take a second to check this out, and we'll be right back with our next guest, Lawrence Watkins, CEO of Great Black Speakers and the president and COO of the Black Business School.
Generational wealth is wealth that passes from generation to generation. So you're not just looking at someone's current position, you're looking at what they inherited. And what we know is that African American people, by and large, inherit very little. Because by and large, generationally, African American people have earned less, and in some cases, spent more. But I underscore the earn less as opposed to spent more. In order to achieve an equivalent lifestyle, African Americans often spend more. Let's use housing as an example. How do you get your home? For many whites, your parents offer you a down payment, help you out with it. For many African Americans, that's just not there. How do you pay for your education? For many whites, their education is paid for. For most African Americans, people are going into debt and doing other things. So if you graduate with no debt, as opposed to graduating with $50,000 worth of debt, your initial life chances are very different. So those are the kinds of things that impact generational wealth. So if the average graduating debt is $26,000, but half of all young people graduate with no debt, we're talking about a higher debt for those who graduate with debt. We know that African American young people are more likely to graduate with debt, so you're looking at a larger sum of debt, which means that you graduate with a shackle of $40,000 as opposed to no shackle. Many of our young people go to community colleges as opposed to four-year schools for debt reasons. Nothing wrong with community colleges, except for when they don't have pipelines. From a 2-year to a 4-year, oftentimes young people are disadvantaged. The issue of generational wealth is what you pass on to your children or to your younger descendants, your nieces, your nephews, and others. Fewer African Americans than whites have that to tap into. So you can look at first generation or even second generation wealth and say, okay, but then you can look at multi-generational wealth and say there is always going to be an inequality unless there are ways to infuse wealth into the African American community.
All right, guys. My name again is Lamar Tyler. That was a clip from our movie Generation One. As we go throughout and transition between speakers, I give y'all a little bit of taste of that. So hopefully we can encourage you to economically empower yourselves as well. And that's part of the conversation, probably about a little bit of the conversation that we'll have in a second with my next guest, who I'm about to bring on, and I'm excited for you guys to hear and see. If you're just joining us, my name is Lamar Tyler, creator and founder of Traffic, Sales, and Profit. We help black entrepreneurs drive more traffic, convert more sales, and grow more profit in their businesses. Along with my wife, Ronnie, I'm also the co-founder of blackandmarriedwithkids.com, the world's largest African-American marriage and parenting site. We're broadcasting to all of our TSP platforms, my personal platforms, our Black and Married with Kids platforms, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. If you are just joining us, I want you to drop me a comment, letting me know who you are and where you're from. I want to know who we got in the room. And I'm excited, like I said, to kind of bring this conversation on and to keep pushing it along the way. All right, let me see. I think we may have some problems. Trying to see if we have some technical issues with our guest as we come on, but we'll see in a second. Let me introduce them to you guys, and then we'll try to get them in here, and we'll see what happens. Loris Watkins is the president and COO of the Black Business School, a platform that helps African Americans obtain a culturally relevant yet practical education in all things wealth building. The BBS has educated close to 100,000 students in areas such as entrepreneurship, stock market investing, and real estate investing. Lawrence Watkins is also the founder and CEO of Great Black Speakers, the largest African-American owned speakers bureau in the nation. Lawrence's new initiative, the Black Power Institute that we're talking about today, aims to organize the community development ideas of black people and mobilize resources around them. The BPI believes that there will only be one black agenda and its primary goal is to lay out the different paths that black people can follow to make positive and powerful changes in their communities, no matter how big or small. Lawrence is a graduate of the Johnson School of Management at Cornell University, where he earned an MBA in entrepreneurship. He also earned a BS in electrical engineering from the University of Louisville. Lawrence is also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, the Young Entrepreneur Council, and the Traffic, Sales, and Profit Mastermind Group. He currently resides in Medellin, Colombia, with his wife and 2-year-old daughter. Guys, let's welcome to the actual conversations my good friend Lawrence Watkins. What's going on, Lawrence?
What's going on, Lamar? How you doing today, man? Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you. like this is great. Again, thanks for taking the time to join this conversation. Thanks for what you're doing because you just launched something that's brand new, I think, right? As far as I know, it's brand new, and I was excited about it and wanted to get you on here to talk about it. Can you tell the people about what the actual Black Power Institute is and why you're even doing it in the first place?
Yeah, so the purpose of the Black Power Institute is to organize the ideas of Black America and really the Black diaspora in general, and then mobilize resources around those ideas. So it's really that simple. Because when it comes to building power, there are two steps to the equation. There's the organization part. That is longer term, sustained type of action. But then there's also the mobilization when things happen, like what we're seeing in the world right now at the the exact same time, right? So we've come to the belief. My older brothers, Dr. Boyce Watkins, and Boyce is controversial in his own right, and no matter who you talk to, everyone has a different idea on what Black people should be doing. And our stance is the more important question is, are you taking action? Right. So are you taking action in your own lane? Because there might be more than one Black agenda. So some people might think it's going to be voting. Other people is going to think it's out here protesting. Other people might think it's going to be economic development. Other people might think something else. Right. So my goal with the Black Power Institute is to just take a step back, look at different social movements that have been successful. Look at social movements that have failed over the course of history and see what actions did they take to become successful, or what actions were taken that actually repelled what they were trying to do, and and organize all of these different ideas into a system, a coherent system that helps everyone move closer to the goal of a Black independent America.
This is interesting, right? And one of the things that really drew my attention when you first posted about it was a comment you made around it, right? Because you said, it's multiple ways and multiple lanes people to take, right? You said like it's not just some people believe protesting is it. Some people believe cooperative economics is it, right? Some people believe voting, right? Whether you vote or not vote is it. But you really drew my attention when you said like there'll be different ways we tackle this thing, and kind of create this power structure around it. Now, let me ask you personally, what was it, or what was the switch? Because you said this is something you've been thinking about for a while. What was it that made you say, all right, tonight I'm getting this page up, I'm taking emails for it or whatever it is, and I'm going to push it out in front of everybody?
Yeah, I mean, it's what's going on in society right now. With deaths of unarmed Black men, all across the country. Getting hunted down by the police, and also just getting hunted down by fellow citizens of the United States. And I see what's going on right now with the protest, and similar to what you and Coach P were talking about before. My lane may not be protesting, but I need to use my skills and my talents and my gifts to help the cause as best I can. So when I was just looking and reading the Washington Post, and just looking at my social media newsfeed and seeing the anger, and seeing how people were actually reacting to what's going on in the world right now, I thought that, like, why am I still waiting on this? Because and what I realized, it was because of fear, right? Because not necessarily fear of putting my ideas out there, fear that no one was actually going to listen, and I'll just be wasting my time. That was like the bigger fear. But when I thought about it, it's like, okay, maybe people don't join me right now. Maybe this is something that takes years upon years, to build that type of momentum necessary to cause the type of change that I'm looking for. But at some point, I'm going to need to get it started. And just something in me said, why am I still delaying? Why don't I just put up this, quick landing page real quick to see who's interested, and start building that community in 2020, instead of waiting until 2023 or 2024 for this quote unquote perfect time that's probably never going to come about.
I love it. And right there, guys, what I have on the screen, that is the actual site that Lawrence is speaking to. It's blackpowerinstitute.com, blackpowerinstitute.com. You just jump on the site, put in your first name and your email address. I love it. Organizing Black ideas to mobilize resources around them, right? So, Lawrence, let me ask you, because, you guys, it's actually very similar to us, right? You work in a space where, like, what you do every day is around equipping and building up the Black community. So I'm curious, when things like this happen, does that change the initiative? Does it shift it a bit? Does it uh, make you double down or implement new resources, like from an organizational standpoint with the businesses that you run, since they are all focused on the Black community, when incidents like this and uprising and the civil unrest, how does that shift or change anything, or does it not, because you're already doing the work?
Yeah, I mean, it shifted a little bit in terms of we may focus on specific initiatives and campaigns a little bit more than we were going to do before, right? So, we're still thinking through, given what's going on in the world, what we're going to be pushing forward for the rest of, 2020. Like, for example, before the civil unrest, was really, sparking, as you know, we had planned, our Black Stock Market Challenge, right? So one thing that as an organization with the Black Business School that we want to do is to have the percentage of Black ownership of stocks to be higher proportionally than of any other counterparts that we have in the United States, right? So white people, Asians, anyone else, we want to have a higher proportion of Black people who own stocks, right? And that's something that was already planned and already scheduled, and it starts tomorrow. So if you're interested in that, go to the blackstockmarketchallenge.com. That's the blackstockmarketchallenge.com. But given what's going on in the world right now, we're thinking about what does a shift look like in terms of given the resources that we have as an educational institution that has been primarily built online. What things do we need to do currently to serve our customer base and to serve the Black community in general? So with the Black Business School, we're still thinking about how we're going to pivot a little bit to serve our customers a little bit better, but more broadly. I think it's the work that I did with the Black Business School to really help with the Black Power Institute to think more broadly about power, not just economic power, which is my primary focus day in and day out for Black people, but think about power in general and how we can leverage our strength and power to create a better community for us all.
All right. Now, Lawrence, probably something that people might have caught when I introed you in. And real quick, before I even jump to that, again, my name is Lamar Tyler, creator and founder, Traffic Sales and Profit, co-founder of blackandmarriedwithkids.com with my wife, Ronnie. We're streaming on all of our platforms, so you guys will probably watch me on one of those. When I read your bio, right, one of the things I mentioned in the last line of that is that you currently actually don't live in the United States. You and your family, right, your wife and your young daughter, she's 2, right? 2-year-old?
Oh, yeah, she's almost 2 years old, so she'll be 2 years old in a couple months.
All right, so almost one and some change, right? Your daughter, you guys actually live in Colombia. I'm curious, right, for someone outside of the country now, how do you, like, when you see all this happening on social, on the news, like personally as a man, like how does it make you feel being outside the country? Just that you wish you were there? Is it that you glad I'm glad I'm not there? Is it just like heightened concern for your loved ones because you can't actually be there and be close to them? And then also, like, what is the view of the United States when you talk to people in your communities, in your neighborhoods, or is it something they even talk about or pay attention to at all anyway?
Yeah, so given that the United States is the primary world power right now, people are always talking about the United States. So even on Colombian radio, you'll hear about what Trump has done, in the past day to make someone upset and piss somebody off, right? So America is really that important in view of the rest of the world to a certain extent. In terms of how I feel, I have mixed emotions. All of those feelings that you just laid out as examples are how I'm feeling, right? So a part of me, does wish that I was there, not necessarily at this particular moment in time, but what does it look like when we return back to the United States? Are there any initiatives that we're going to be a part of to start building these Black communities that we've been talking about, building for the last 20 years, 30 years, even longer than that, as a race of people, right? I'm also thinking about my family too, right? I don't think that being Black means that you have to be Black living in America. Right. So we've lived in Medellin. Before we lived in Medellin, we traveled around Europe and South America for a year. And then we chose Medellin because it provided, the best opportunities for, me and my family to, live a, very good life at a, reduced fraction of what it would cost to live in Chicago, which is where we lived before. So I feel that. And one thing that I want to do is start to explore other areas around the world where it might be great for Black people to start moving. There's a lot of news around Ghana right now. There's a lot of news around Rwanda. There's a lot of news around Kenya. There's some news around South Africa. Like there's other places that we can go to start building these thriving communities as well. So it's really just a mix. Part of me wants to be in the States. Part of me wants to, start expanding our opportunities to be like, Jewish individuals where, they do have their homeland, but they're, dispersed all around the world. We'll see, where it actually goes, though.
That was insightful. Guys, you got any questions real quick for Lawrence? Do me a favor, drop them down to the chat. And I love what you just said, right? Being black does not mean being black and that you have to live in America, right? I love that. And this is my last question around that because I thought it was interesting why I got you on. Have you had a heightened number of people asking you about what it's like to live outside of the United States, right? Or is it pretty much nobody ever asks? Is it pretty much pretty even? Or like when things like this happen, do you get more calls from friends and family saying like, you know what, like what's it really take? Like how much does it cost? Like what do I need to do in order to make that transition?
Yeah, I mean, I do get calls all the time about that, especially, since everything has started popping off of coronavirus, and now within the United States, right? People always ask me, hey, I'm thinking about moving to Colombia. What do you have to say to me, or what do you think I should do? And I'm like, well, Colombian borders are now shut, so you can't come here anyway if you wanted to. So this is a decision. Yeah, so it's not like a split-second decision that you're actually going to make, especially right now during this world pandemic. But I actually taught a course in the Black Business School about that, called the Live Free Lifestyle. And it was for people who wanted to learn how to not just live free and move across, move abroad, right? But also, how do you structure your life if you wanted to live in America, but still have a freedom of life, a freedom of lifestyle where you can't spend time during the day with your 2-year-old daughter, or you can't spend time with your wife in the middle of the day, or you can do X, Y, and Z. You can go for early morning walk or afternoon walk and don't have to really think about work, right? And that's the type of lifestyle that I've structured for myself. And I do have a lot of people always ask me about that, and I like to answer that question, but truthfully, it's and goes back to the Black Power Institute. It's a question that people ask me, but it's not something that I really enjoy talking about. What I enjoy talking about more is this concept of power and, living free and living independent, structured like I talked about, is one form of power in terms of controlling your own life. But I like to think about that concept of power a little bit more broadly as well. So everything in my soul, kept telling me to move back towards the Black Power Institute, because even though I don't know if people are actually interested in it, right? It's something that I think is just a body of knowledge that needs to be compiled and disseminated to our people, so that maybe in 10 or 20 years, maybe now, maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 years, that piece of knowledge is compiled for someone else to use and run with it in the future as well.
All right, I love it. And then again, guys, what you see on your screen right now, that is the homepage, the landing page, right, for the Black Power Institute, organizing Black ideas to mobilize resources around them. The truth is that there will never only be one Black agenda. The goal of the BPI will be to lay out the different paths that Black people can follow to make positive and powerful changes in their communities, no matter how big or small, right? Make sure you join the pre-launch community, right? You go there, you drop in your first name and email address. It takes you to a video of information. I love that comment. I got to share that in a second. Takes you to a video, more information from Lawrence, and also a hand sketch diagram that he's carefully crafted out.
That shows you I did not plan on launching this, Lamar. I did not plan on launching this at all right now. I kept saying, all right, I had this all planned in my head, right? So I also teach a course called Black Experts Empire with my good friend Al Duncan. And the purpose of Black Experts Empire is to teach people how to transform their knowledge into power, purpose, and profits, right? So I had this big plan where we're going to do a Black Experts Empire launch, a book around that. Then I'm going to move to this general concept of Black wealth and laying out my Black wealth framework. And then after all that, I'll get to this concept of Black power, and just little sketch that I've been working on, since, probably October, November of last year. Right. And, just something gave me last night said, nah, this Black power stuff needs to be moved to the forefront, even if it's not as profitable, in the short term, or, it doesn't have as much demand. Long-term sustainability of our communities. I think my contribution to that, to the Black community, nationwide and worldwide is I guess tied up into this, Black power system that I'm creating.
I love it. And a minute ago, Lawrence, as you were talking, you said, hey, I don't know if anybody's interested. We got a comment in that says, sir, we've been interested. I love it. They just been waiting for you to show up with it, man. Like people are just like the community is ready. Just been waiting for you to show up. So awesome. I love it. Lawrence, any last words you want to give to folks, or like I say, any more information on how they can connect with you or get more information about the Black? Definitely want to go to blackpowerinstitute.com. Any other information you want to share with them?
Yeah, no, I mean that's it, right? So go to the blackpowerinstitute.com. So blackpowerinstitute.com. Sign up. We're still deciding on what we're going to do, right? So like I said, I literally was in the TSP group, the mastermind group, at 1 minute, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and launch this. I created the landing page, the lead magnet, all that type of stuff. Put it out there to the world, and just seeing what's going to come out of it. So I have no plans in terms of what we're going to be doing with the community. I just said, let's just put this out here and see where it goes, because when it comes to just organizing the agendas of the Black community and organizing, what it is that we're actually doing, and giving people tangible action steps on what they can do, no matter how conservative or progressive they are, to influence and positively influence the Black community. I wanted to get that out there, and I think that as a group, we can come to a consensus. We can come to, better ideas around this concept versus me being here in Medellin, Colombia, in my back office, trying to do it all by myself. So please head over to head over to blackpowerinstitute.com. That's blackpowerinstitute.com to learn more.
Hey, Lawrence, I did have one other question came in. I thought was might be a good question for you. Victoria, I believe she's thinking about returning home to Kenya. She said, have you faced any kind of pushback from those who look at you suspiciously as a new resident of Colombia with roots from the USA? She asked because this is a real thing for those of us who are considering returning home to Kenya after years in the diaspora.
Given the fact that I work with Black people all day long with, great Black speakers and, the Black Business School, I've come to a level of mental freedom to where it doesn't actually matter to me what anyone really thinks, right? The only people who matter to me in terms of what they think is, my internal community, the people who actually are paying our bills and who are actually serving. So it's so weird when people ask me that question about discrimination, or do you feel like you're discriminated against in X, Y, and Z area, or do you feel like people look at you a certain way? Those are things that just honestly never crossed my mind, because they have no bearing on my day-to-day life, right? They have no bearing on my family's life, because as long as I have enough cash, truthfully here, as long as I have enough cash and a good enough support system with other Black expats and other people within the city of Columbia, none of that other stuff really matters. And I've realized over the last couple of years that that's a freedom that most people can't really enjoy from a mental perspective. And it's something I don't really take for granted. So I wish I could answer your question a little bit better, other than the fact that it's not something I ever really think about.
My bad. I know I keep saying I'm gonna let you go, but you just sparked something else with that comment you did, because I find myself thinking the same way, that I really don't care what other people think, right? And now, I was talking to Ronnie, my wife, last night. If everybody don't know that, I was talking to Ronnie, my wife, and now, I was kind of sharing my thoughts about different things with her, and I was saying the fact that I know I am I'm outside of the norm, right? Where I'm pretty much insulated by Black people all the time, right? Where I don't, it's not like I go into an office any longer, because when I worked in corporate, it was that way, but I no longer go into an office where I'm the minority in the office and I gotta, hide the way I feel or hide what I think, or if I'm sharing or emotional about different things going on in the community, I gotta hear it, or people wearing their MAGA hats all around. That's like, you ain't gonna catch no MAGA hats at the Tyler New Media office. You know what I'm saying? It ain't happening. And then all day I'm working with Black business owners. Then we over here working with Black couples, right? So it's not the norm. But what I find is similar to you. I just can't muster up the energy to care what other people think about our community, other than people that's in the actual community. As I see, raging arguments and fights going on Facebook, I be about to comment, then I just be like, I just don't care. I just don't care. Like, I really just would rather spend my energy and my time like taking care of my folks, and making sure they're equipped and they got what they need. And I don't know, like I said, like I haven't heard too many other people, come from that kind of same lens. But I don't know if it's because of the fact that you are kind of insulated like I am, or what it is. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know if it's a question. I don't know. Is that like something we can help people? Is it something like, do you think people should care more about what other thinks? because I just don't care. Like, I don't care what other thought leaders that aren't black think. I don't care what other political like directly into stuff to impact me and my community. I don't care. And even if I got to interface with them, I interface, get what I need, then I'm back over here serving my people, right? So I don't know if you got any thoughts about that, or I'm just kind of rambling too. So.
Yeah, I mean that's a form of independence and power, right? And truthfully, that's how white people feel in the United States. If you think about it to a large degree, especially if you are a white business owner who just interacts with your crew because you're used to being the majority. So in my day-to-day life, I'm used to being majority black. Everyone that I interact with is majority. I mean, most people I interact with are black, and I think that's a form of independence that we've become so accustomed to not having in the United States that many of us don't think is possible, right? So a lot of the fights that I get into on Facebook with, people who are highly successful, my classmates who, went to the best business schools or the best law schools, that type of thing, they have a different mindset because they've had to interact in corporate America because their money, to feed their children, to feed their family is dependent on, what this white man thinks, right? Or what this, white woman thinks, or I need to, watch out for, Karen in the office or whatever. Because I don't want to mess up my cash flow because of that. And I think that's what black independence or black financial independence brings. And then also just being around your crew, with other black folk. And I'm not saying that I don't interact with white people at all because some of our a couple of our vendors are white, people that I have I know from school, that type of thing too. But we just have a different interaction. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's not one of I need you. It's one that you're, serving me in some sort of way of what I actually need. We try to hire as many black vendors as possible too. And that actually adds to the level of insulation as well, right? So, but that's, a form of economic power. It's a form of, social norms in culture, right? So being around all of that, these are just some of the base sources that I talk about, in my black power system as well. But it's a liberating feeling. And if you can achieve that type of feeling, I guarantee you it's going to add years to your life because you're not going to be stressed day in and day out as you go to work. You're not going to be stressed when you walk the streets. You're not going to be stressed in a lot of different types of ways. So longer term vision out of this Black Power Institute and what we're doing is how do we manifest communities like that around the world where we can be, where we can feel safe, where we're economically secure, where we're physically secure as well.
Thank you, Lawrence, man. Again, I appreciate you for taking the time coming into us all the way from Columbia to talk about the Black Power Institute. Guys, we dropped the link in a few of the chats we got going, blackpowerinstitute.com. Make sure you go right. All you got to do is drop in your first name, email address. You'll see a video from Lawrence. You'll get more information and his original diagram, right, and outlook and view about how we can take black ideas and mobilize resources around them. Thanks a lot, Lawrence, man. Appreciate you being here today.
All right. Thanks, Lamar. Appreciate you.
All right, awesome. And guys, we are not done. I'm about to bring another of our subject matter experts, right? Amazing woman to the stage to share with you guys some information on how our community, we can put down pretenses and preconceived notions about therapy and what that word really means, because trust me, therapy is needed right now. If you think this is not traumatic, if you think like your day-to-day life isn't traumatic, like Lawrence said, right? Like a lot that many of us just have to go through. And a lot of you don't have the benefit of living a life like Lawrence and myself lead, right? We're like insulated with people in our community, and we're all striving and moving together to be better, to do better, to have better, right? Some of you have to go into hostile work environments. Some of you live in hostile communities, and there is a toll of baggage that comes along with that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give you guys another clip while we get our next guest ready to come on of our film Generation One. Somebody asked me before, when's it coming out? It's actually already out. It's been out. A lot of people have gotten a hold of this thing all over the world. The website for it is just www.generation1movie.com. Somebody can put that down in the chat, generation1movie.com. That'll take you to the page. You got a discount for it and some other stuff you'll see once you get to the page. But I just want to share this information, not really pushing it to sell it, but wanted to just share and enlighten you guys with the information as we do it. So check this out. We'll be right back with our next guest, Aiyana Ma'at.
Have we let down previous generations? Well, it depends on how you look at success. I mean, if you look at success as achieving integration and acceptance from the broader population and getting access to the most powerful and prestigious institutions in America, then no, we haven't let them down. We're living the dream, right? This is what they dreamed about: little black boys and little white girls holding hands, and you know, us sitting in the White House. I mean, we sitting in the White House, man. I mean, there's a lot of folks 100 years ago that couldn't even imagine that, right? But when you talk about self-sufficiency and you know, some of the lessons that Malcolm X gave us about independence, I think we have let them down. You know, we are not self-sufficient. I would argue that we've become less self-sufficient over time. Sometimes necessity really does become the mother of invention. When you have tremendous human capital, tremendous amounts of resources that are not being accepted by the broader marketplace, it forces you to use those resources in whatever way you can. For example, if you have a doctor and a lawyer and a carpenter and a cook that all can't find work because the white businesses are not hiring black employees, well, that forces those people to say, you know what, I have to survive and I know I have value. So let's create an economy right here. Let's create institutions here that allow us to utilize our skill. And so what happens is, it's just that old saying, no pain, no gain. So you've gone through the pain of not getting the easy route to quote unquote prosperity, but you get the gain of having to make something out of nothing. And then what you find is that when you've committed to this alternative route, you know, where you have to create something just to survive, you find that you are stronger than you would have been if you had taken the easy path. So integration cleared the easy path for us, but it did not make us stronger in the end.
All right, y'all. Let me know what you thought about that. Drop a comment down below. We did that years ago, right? But it's still, I think, one of the most powerful, impactful pieces of work. Me and my wife done a lot of work over the years, a lot of different resources that we've put into the black community. But I still think that hands down is our most proudest piece of work, right? And I promise what I'll do after this final interview, I got a clip for y'all that will bring in the historical impact of a lot of what's done, right? And what systematic racism looks like, because a lot of people don't really understand what that looks like and what the ramifications of it are and how it's kind of played out in our everyday lives, right? And it's not just the fact that you can or can't drink from certain water fountains anymore, but I got a very impactful piece we'll play after this next interview on that, so make sure you stick around for that. If you were just joining, my name is Lamar Tyler. I'm the creator and founder of Traffic, Sales, and Profit. We help entrepreneurs drive more traffic, convert more sales, and grow more profit in their businesses. We particularly focus on the African-American community because I've not said this yet. Some of you may be new, right? Our focus is on creating more successful enterprises, business enterprises in the black community. We know that if we can create more businesses in the black community, we can create more jobs in the black community. We create more jobs and more wealth, and we change the economy inside of our own internal community. We know that will be one of the forms of power like Lawrence Watkins just talked about. So we want to economically free some of you. We want to begin to create legacies of wealth, right? Doing this through entrepreneurship and then having conversations around money like we did years ago in that film Generation 1 that you just saw, so that you can impact our community in certain ways. And while we're doing that, we still got another brand, blackandmarriedkids.com. If you're watching on the BMWK platforms, welcome. I've run that and founded it along with my wife, Ronnie. We support, equip, and encourage marriage in the African-American community. We've been doing that now for 12 years. 7 full-length documentary films, over 10,000 articles on the website, blackandmarriedkids.com. Screening tours around the countries, cruises, workshops, conferences for couples, because we know that if we can fortify, uplift, support, and make stronger relationships in black families, right, we can strengthen black families. You know, if we strengthen black families, we strengthen black communities. You know, if we strengthen black communities, we strengthen this entire country. All right, so I'm about to bring on my next guest. I want you guys to get ready for this. I'm excited about this. And I thought, you know, as I was thinking about what we're going to do, because all this kind of came up late yesterday. So again, thanks for all the speakers. I hit them up late yesterday. It's like, hey, can I bring you on? They all said, yeah, we bout it. All right. So our next guest, with more than 20 years in the mental health field, Aiyana Ma'at has served in a wide range of behavioral health, direct practice, and executive leadership roles. From clinical therapist to chief clinical officer, she has worked with a diverse range of clients in school counseling, government, nonprofits, and psychiatric hospital settings. Her areas of primary interest are couples, work anxiety, trauma and attachment, issues of self-esteem, and culturally relevant clinical interventions. I'm telling y'all better listen to this conversation. You better tag a friend right now. Share this on your page if you haven't right now. This is one of the most important conversations we need to be having in a time like this. And I guarantee you, when you cut on the news, you cut on the media, all the stuff you watching and you ingesting, this is not the conversation that they're having. Some of her official titles include wife, mom, psychotherapist, speaker, and CEO. Aiyana is passionate about inspiring and challenging people to acknowledge and own all of who they are. Out of this passion, the launch of Perspective Counseling and Therapy was born. Leaders in culturally competent counseling. Perspective is a technology company whose mission is to prioritize African American community by providing 100% online, culturally competent professional counseling in all 50 states via text, audio, or video, anytime, from anywhere. She believes that the African American community has a right to get support, knowing that they will truly be seen and heard. How many of you guys have known that you needed help, known you needed counseling, needed therapy, but you felt like this other person, just from a cultural standpoint, just doesn't get me? Well, that's what we're talking about today, and that is my guest I'm bringing on. What's up, Miss Aiyana Ma'at? What's going on? How are you today, lady?
I am good. I was listening to that, getting excited. I am good, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. Right. So as you know, I talked to Coach P and I talked to Lawrence, and then late in the day yesterday, I said, you know what? I said, people are facing so much trauma, and I don't know if that's the right word for it or not, but you can definitely let me know. I got the right person here, right? And I just see it down in my stream, right? And I see all the hurt, I see the pain, and a lot of this stuff. I feel like people either probably shouldn't be working through on their own now, or in the future they're gonna need to get some help. Like, would you say that's accurate? If I'm wrong, totally tell me I'm wrong. Like, I'm just curious about what your thoughts are on it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people are struggling. We all are struggling in some way or another. The thing is that we all deal with exactly the word you used, the trauma, in different ways. And the thing about Black folks is that we don't even recognize a lot of times that what we're experiencing is trauma. It is little micro traumas, big traumas, aggressions, microaggressions, all these things happening because it's just the way we've had to live for so long in a country that does not always lift us up in the way that we should be lifted up, and frankly is oftentimes against us. So we don't even recognize that we're struggling, that we're having a hard time. And definitely, folks, that's my purpose, my call. Folks got to be able to prioritize our mental and emotional health during all of this stuff that we got going on from day to day.
So how do they go about? So if they, you talk about prioritizing their mental and emotional health, right? Like, what does that look like to somebody that's watching that says, like, right now, like, I was already stressed, right? And let's talk about that, right? The fact that like this is not out of a vacuum. People were already just going through regular life. Then COVID-19. Then you may be home. You may have been laid off. Your business may have been shut down, and you can't work even though you want to work. Then the economy, right? And they're talking about we may be heading into not just a great recession, but another great depression and joblessness, and you fighting to go to the store every day, just get toilet paper and crap, right? Like so we're dealing with all of this, and then on the heels of this, then it's civil unrest and it's uprising, and it's fear for ourselves, fear for our children, for our young Black boys and young Black girls. Like what's the toll of that? Just compounding, one after another in such a short amount of time.
Man, let me tell you something. Just as you went through and you just did that beautifully and kind of broke down all of these compartments in terms of how we are all experiencing the world as Black people, the pain, man, the pain is so deep. It is so multifaceted. It's so textured. There's so much stuff there that for real, I contend that most of us are not fully in touch with it. Like that is the essence of why I think folks really need to figure out how to take time to make space for themselves and their emotional and mental well-being, because we haven't even probably begun to scratch the surface for ourselves as individuals about how rough and deep the stuff is that we're dealing with. Because of what I already said, we are used to it. You can become adjusted to dealing with trauma every day, just living in your neighborhood, just dealing with folks who are not for you, working in a society that's not, for your own good. All of these kind of things, just regular everyday stuff, stresses, COVID-19, what have you. And then we always have to be bigger and better than other folks. And so it is so heavy that I think a lot of times we take for granted as Black folks that we are carrying stuff that really would make our knees buckle if we just took a little bit of time to even pay attention to what it is. And so I think what's important is that, a lot of Black folks, and this is not all, because a lot of us are making a lot of progress with how we see therapy and how we see counseling. There's so many barriers, Lamar, so many things that get in the way historically for Black folks for good reason. There's a lot of mistrust, in terms of the healthcare system in general, mental health specifically. There's a lot of misdiagnosis that goes on, misdiagnosing Black folks, Black children. There's all kind of stuff. And there's a lack of cultural competence. So folks they can't even resonate with you before they put you in a box and try to move you on out the door. So I think that Black folks have a lot of reasons to be kind of looking side at, a little bit sometimes at this notion of unpacking their stuff. But the piece that I know to be true is, for example, that, I know one of the stats that always stands out to me, and I tried to gather, it's like 2017, suicide was the second leading cause of death for Black folks ages 15 to 24. The second leading cause of death. But this is the kind of stuff we don't really talk about in terms of how people really be struggling and having a hard time, and we don't have places or spaces that we can go to, and we don't necessarily feel we have the permission to even do it. So it's a lot. It's already a lot. And I think that we normalize it because we've always been struggling and pressing through and making do with what we have. But we got to figure out how to be able to take care of ourselves in the midst of all of this at the same time.
All right, hold on. So we about to go. Can we dig a little deep into this thing?
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Hope y'all don't look. I'm telling y'all, get somebody, tag a friend, share this on your pages. This is probably one of the most important conversations that you'll hear out of this whole thing. Right? It's going to be a lot of conversation going. It's probably one of the most important ones, and it's one we're not going to hear enough of. So you just talked. It was a lot you just unpacked from the historical lens and the view, right, of how we view therapy, how we've been taken advantage of. There's mistrust, and there's reason it's not all totally misplaced, right? You talked about misdiagnosis, which we hear often, which we see often, especially with our children. I don't even know if you hit on the religious aspect.
Oh, yeah, that's big.
Because a lot of people will think, oh, that's just the devil playing games on you. That's just a trick, right? All you need is your Bible. And, that's something even when we did Black and Married with Kids, a lot of times we tell couples, like, y'all need to get some help. Like, this ain't, like, the way y'all, like, this ain't it. Like, y'all need to get help. And we'd have couples come and say, or somebody else weigh in and say, that all I need is the Bible. All I need is the Word. They don't need to go talk to some man or some woman, right? Everything they need is in the Bible. And what I would say is that, like, when you break your arm, do you just say everything I need to repair my arm is in the Word, right? 2 Corinthians 4 and 18. No, man, you take your butt to a doctor. And perhaps if that's consistent with my faith is that God put people on this earth in place that know more than me about certain things, that can help heal me about certain things. And just like they can heal my body, is people on this earth that can actually heal my mind and heal some of the things I'm facing. I mean, how many times, I got so many questions for you to talk about. Let's start with this one. How many times, specifically in our community, do you see that come in, or do you run into that religious, historical aspect of that being a barrier to people getting the help that they need?
You know what? People have gotten a little more fancy with it now. So I will say that there's like a subset of Black folks who, they're in spaces and places where folks are like, you know what? Don't go over there talking to them. People trying to be fancy, trying to tell you something you already know. You can talk to your mama, your grandma, and come to church, and we can all figure this thing out. And that's that kind of old school thinking. And I think there are definitely subsets of folks in spaces that kind of still reinforce that, and not just reinforce that you can do it with God and God by yourself, but also reinforce that if you do that, somehow you're weak. Your faith is not strong. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have the right mindset. So we use all these code words that make us feel as though something about who we are on the inside is not strong enough. And the thing I always say is that it takes a real gangster to go to therapy. Like, you have to be strong. You have to have a different kind of internal character and groundedness to even show up. Because going to therapy means you're about to open up some stuff and see some things that you perhaps have chosen not to see, have not wanted to pay attention to, but you know that if you do this thing, it's only going to be for your good. So it takes real strength to go to therapy, but this piece around weakness and around not having strong enough faith is a real big theme. I think the other thing too, Lamar, and I think this is the misunderstanding when it comes to therapy and counseling, is folks view the therapist, the counselor, as the person who has the information. They're going to give you some things. They're going to tell you some stuff. They're going to set you straight. And especially Black folks in our community, you know, we hold in high regard our elders, our spiritual leaders, folks who know some things, been around the way. And you don't necessarily have to have any degree or licenses behind your name. We just know that you know what you're talking about. And we hold that high. In our community, gaining counsel, going and seeking counsel is culturally a part of what we do. It's like, well, you know, go talk to your granddad, or go over there and talk to your uncle. That's a part of what we do. We sit down and we talk about things. So it's not that we don't talk. It's just that we are very leery about who we talk to. And I think the thing that is the misunderstanding is that therapy is not a place. Yes, therapists have training and have some assets and things that you perhaps have not been exposed to. But therapy is no more than a person coming and saying, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to make space, I'm going to get in touch, and I'm going to access wisdom. But the wisdom that I'm accessing is my own. As a therapist, it's just my job to help you access what you already know. It's not that I'm giving you so much stuff like, let me drop this on you. I might prompt you to that. But ultimately, everything that folks need is already in them, in our historical kind of memory and DNA, but also inside of us in terms of our own sense of self-determination and our ability to overcome. So I think a lot of times folks think like, oh, I'm going to go to this person who's going to psychoanalyze me and tell me about myself. The best culturally competent counselor is someone who's going to join with you, is going to help you unfold what you already have on the inside, not drop all of these things that you didn't have before you got there. That's just not what counseling and what therapy is all about. So I think that's an important thing to lift up.
I love it. And I just put up one of the comments that came through. Thanks, Roz, for dropping that. She quoted you. It takes a real gangster to go to therapy. Somebody better put that in the chat. You better quote that. Make sure you tag Aiyana. This is the conversation that we need to be having right now. So you talked about a second ago the fact that, and I don't know if this is a cultural thing with us or people in general. I don't know, right? But I know it exists. I don't know what happened outside of us, but I know it exists with us, where it's this toughness and it's this armor that we put on that we have to be strong, right? Because like I said, we gotta be twice as good as somebody else in order to get the same level of recognition of people outside this community. I got to show up at work in a whole different way, right, than everybody else may have to show up in there because people are viewing me through their perspective and through their lens in a different way. I got to sit up and drive a certain way when I see police officers on the side of the road. Like all of this stuff, right, I think are things that probably contribute to us having to put this armor on and feeling like the armor is always there. But how do we get beyond that feeling of I have to be strong? Because sometimes I'm not even sure if everybody even realizes that they have that armor on when it's on, until we have problems connecting with friends, until we have problems connecting with loved ones, until we have problems in our relationship, and we're like, we've built all these walls and silos around us. Like, how can somebody even A, realize that that may be an issue, and then B, begin to remove that armor, remove those walls of saying I don't have to be strong all the time, I can be vulnerable, and I can find a safe space?
Yeah. So I think that's a great question. And I think the biggest thing is, reframing. What we talk about in therapy all the time is how do you do a reframe? And the reframe, kind of going back to what I said a second ago, is you actually are strong when you actually can own all of who you are. You can own, I am gangster. I am, I'm a boss. I'm this, I'm that. I execute. And, I kind of stumble when I'm in spaces where I got to be emotionally vulnerable, or I got to talk to my wife about this, or, I have some social anxiety when I go around a bunch of new people and it feels weird. I don't feel like I'm a part of the space. And that seems to be a real theme in my life, right? Like when you can own all of that, it's when I've seen people, Lamar, who, show all of themselves that I'm like, wow, I really admire this person, but they just they just themselves, and they don't hold back the parts of themselves that perhaps people would judge as not being on point. That I really, really feel blessed to be able to kind of witness them. And so I think that people have to again reframe and understand that there really is strength in being vulnerable. Therapy is about being vulnerable. And that piece right there can only happen if you pull from a strong place. You can't be vulnerable and kind of go down to you have to be strong in order to be able to even kind of give that up for other folks. So it's about a reframe. But then the other piece, what was I going to say? The other piece, Lamar, is that oh shoot, I lost my point. But I think the main piece that I want to really kind of push forward is this, and it's this right here. When it comes to really opening up and letting folks in and letting people see you, you can't allow for anybody else to do what you won't do with yourself. So to me, when you have the ability to create space for yourself so that you can have a space, I mean, like you said, with all this going on right now, with everything that's happening, when you can create space for yourself, that is a revolutionary act. That is a radical act to say, like, nah, even though I have all of this other stuff, I have to make space for myself so that I can show up stronger, better, brighter for the things that are important to me. Many of us are entrepreneurs. Many of us, are trying to leave legacies. We're trying to do major things, but we can only go as far as the insight that we have. And there's so much about ourselves that we don't know, we don't see, we don't recognize in terms of our emotional kind of state, that we wouldn't even pay. We just don't even know it's there. I mean, you just said that a second ago. We don't know that it's there. And so if we do a little time taking with therapy, it can allow us to actually be stronger and brighter in the places that we really do want to show up for, even though, because most folks don't want to go to therapy. You know, when you say you unpacking some stuff, we know we need to go, or it might be helpful to go, but nobody's usually excited to go. Some folks are, because they get all into it. But I do think that it's something that, folks just have to recognize it really is going to give you more in the areas that you value the most. If you want to be a really good leader, you got to have really good personal insight. If you want to be a really good partner or a model in the world, you really got to be emotionally intelligent, which means you got to be self-aware. You got to know how you're impacting other people and all that kind of stuff. Therapy, man. You know what I'm saying? You kind of know what your soft spots are and where you really do well. And so it's a mix of a lot of things, but I think that folks have to find the why for them, and that will help folks to be able to push forward and deal with some of the stuff that's there for them to deal with.
I love it. Hey guys, do me a favor. If you got questions for Aiyana, go ahead and drop them into the chat. I want to be able to kind of bring a few questions to her. If you guys got questions and things you kind of want to, trying to figure out based on this conversation, drop them down to the chat. While we're waiting for those to come in, one of the things I normally ask around the time is how can people get in touch? How can they get more help? But you actually are launching a new site through Perspective, right? Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I would love to talk about that. So Perspective is the new platform that will be launching in beta mode this summer. And it is a 100% online counseling platform that you'll be able to access through your browser, through app. And we are focusing on the African-American community, and we are doing that unapologetically. And we are really, really aiming to be the leaders in culturally competent professional counseling and therapy. And so folks will be able to have their therapist in their pocket. Take out your smartphone or get your tablet or your computer, and you'll be able to, access a therapist in all 50 states. It is a different model. The model is an unlimited counseling model. So every month you'll be able to have unlimited counseling, and you'll be able to access your therapist again through text messaging, through audio, through scheduling live sessions. But it will not be like waiting. I got to wait till next week and I got to wait till next week. It is that ongoing access that really makes it amenable to folks. And our commitment is to making sure that we increase the access to culturally competent counseling, and that we really destroy the stigma that oftentimes is associated with therapy and counseling. So we're excited about that. And people can visit tryperspective.com to get more information. It's tryperspective.com to get more information and to sign up and stay connected for updates and things like that.
All right, guys. And that is the website you see on your screens right there in front of you, tryperspective.com. I'll drop that into the chat. But if once y'all bring it up, drop into the chat as well, because we got a lot of different chats going on, a lot of different platforms between TSP and BMWK. This is a great conversation. I love it, right? And as we kind of talk about this, it's like I said, people need help, right? Like people already need help in general, right? Just with their everyday what they face. But right now, there are going to be so many people in our community that need to get this help. So I encourage you guys. There is access to resources. There are people that are culturally competent, like Aiyana said, that understand the lane that you're coming from, that understand the things that you're dealing with, and that are here to help you and assist you kind of work through it. You also had two things coming up. I said this upcoming Tuesday, June 2nd, 8 p.m., you got a panel discussion?
Yeah, a panel discussion in the group. I would encourage and love for folks to join Therapy for Black Folks by Perspective here on Facebook. Join the group, and we have a panel discussion happening on this coming Tuesday, 8 p.m. with 6 brilliant, skilled Black therapists. And we're talking about therapy and Black folks, the myths, the truth, and everything in between. So that's this Tuesday, June the 2nd at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then more information, more details will be forthcoming. But next Sunday, which I believe is June the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, I believe, June the 6th, next Sunday, we're going to be having a free virtual community support group, particularly in light of these times, for folks to come together, and more details will come out with regards to that. Folks can go to tryperspective.com/events, and information will be there about that. That's on next Sunday.
All right, y'all, and we just dropped those into a few of our chats as well. If it wasn't, if it wasn't in yours, again, go to the website tryperspective.com. You can get a hold of everything and find everything, and then we also in our chats drop the link to the Facebook group as well, so you guys can join the Facebook group. Highly encourage you to do that and to get it started. Right, we're getting the actual hope and the perspective that you need. And y'all, just thank you for caring enough about the community. Right. You and your husband, he said, y'all are community-minded folks. So thank you for even caring enough about the community to launch this initiative and get it out there. I know, you had just your sights set on the summer 2020, but things will probably get ramped up and sped up a little bit quicker than that, just because everything's going on, because of need. But I'm sure that you guys will step up and stand into that need and into the gap.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lamar. I appreciate the opportunity. And of course, always I appreciate you and everything that you do for Black folks, entrepreneurs everywhere. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Right.
Any last words, anything you want to leave the people with?
Go to therapy. Peace.
Here we go, y'all. Simple enough. All right, thank you. Have a great day. All right, y'all. So again, we had an amazing day. Hopefully, if you didn't catch those 3 speakers and individuals that we had come up, right, please make sure you go back and watch the replay and check it out and catch them. I told y'all between the actual interviews, I've been showing you some snippets of one of the films we did years ago, Generation 1, The Search for Black Wealth. We call it Generation 1 because we said every generation in the African-American community, it feels as though we're starting over when it comes to wealth again and again. We wanted to make sure this is the last generation that does that. We wanted to create a blueprint for building wealth in our community, and I am in a big believer, right, that a lot of what we face would change if our community had access to economic empowerment, if we had money, if we had wealth, because along with wealth and money comes power. So what I want to do before we leave, right, I want to show you one more clip from Generation 1. I'm actually, and y'all let me know what you think, I'm actually thinking about doing a free screening online of the movie into one of our groups. So let me know if you guys are interested in that. If you like what you've been seeing, let me know. We might do a free screen and a movie night into one of our groups. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to come right back to you to wrap it up. Make sure you watch it. This is extremely impactful. It's extremely educational, and it begins to lay down some of why we still face what we face today. You'll see it in this clip.
While there has been some economic success as well as historical economic success, there have also been a series of failures. And not only failures, but intentional failures. As far as I'm concerned, there have been cases of what I call economic genocide. Tulsa, 1921, where people just came and took your stuff. If you go back into the 1920s and 30s, during the Depression, when people defaulted on their taxes because they didn't have any money, white folks got forbearance, Black folks had their land seized. So when you talk about generational wealth, one of the things you have to talk about is the economic genocide that took wealth away from Black people, that simply took it. If you protested, you were out of there. I mean, if you protested, you were literally run out of town. And there were stories upon stories upon stories of this. So there were some African American people who hoped to accumulate. who hoped to pass it down and didn't have the opportunity. But even leaving that, which is a huge loss of generational wealth, you also want to look at the ways that people were denied the opportunity to accumulate because of fewer wages, because of the whole sharecropping system, which you never broke even, much less gained any money. So if you went back and looked at the history of African American people in our economic system, what you would have to say is that we participated with a combination of hope and despair. We hoped that our country would treat us fairly. We despaired that it ever would. The hope allowed you to attempt to accumulate, allowed you to attempt to be a citizen, allowed you to believe that nobody was going to take your wealth. The despair for many people let them know that that just wasn't the case. We want to look at World War II and its aftermath, which represented, in my opinion, one of the greatest wealth transfers from Black people to white people. Now that may be an extreme opinion, but our tax dollars were used to economically advantage white people and to exclude Black people. So World War II veterans had the opportunity to accumulate through the Fair Housing Administration, the opportunity to accumulate through the education bills that were part of the GI Bill. African Americans were denied that. Katz Nelson wrote a brilliant book called When Affirmative Action Was White. And he talks about how white people benefited because they were veterans, but Black people did not. So many white men had the opportunity to go to college, to go to graduate school because of the GI Bill. They usually went before a state board to get the okay for their participation. Black men, many did not have that opportunity. In Mississippi, fewer than 200 African American men were given the opportunity to go to college. Many were told, well, go to barber school. These were federal dollars, and this had an impact on generational wealth. I think if you went back and looked at the history, you would look at examples that would make you sick, that were literally sizzle with the level of injustice that happened with African American people. As Dr. Martin Luther King once said, he talked about reparations in a very veiled way, and he talked about all the things that white people got that Black people didn't get. He talked about the Homestead Act, which allowed immigrant white people to claim 40 acres of Western land to build their families and their farms. That's where the 40 acres and a mule came from, because white folks got their 40 acres. We never did. And you go down and look at the ways that whites were advantaged, where African American people were not advantaged, and you wonder that Black people have anything. And so then when you look at the wealth data, the last survey, about 12% of African American people literally have no stuff. Excuse my ebonics, but I need you to hear it the way I hear it. They ain't got no stuff. No cars, no homes, no checking or savings accounts. They have nothing, nothing. Where only 1% of whites are in that same position. Now, one might again have an argument about why they don't have anything, but I would say that part of it is, again, the lack of generational wealth, and part of it is insistent, consistent, and contemporary discrimination. Insistent, consistent, and contemporary. Because a lot of people will tell you, well, that was back in the day. No, it wasn't back in the day. You can find today that Tammy will get a job before Tamika does. You can find today obvious cases of racial and wealth and economic discrimination. Now, they don't all come to the fore, and people have become embarrassed about talking about discrimination because you've got all these people, well, that's not really discrimination. It is. How do you end up with twice the unemployment rates? How do you end up with African American people, 13% of the population, having 2% of the wealth? How do you end up with that unless there was an intentional plan? If not today, then with inherited, issues. And you know, it interests me a lot when we talk about the plan and the conspiracy. You get a lot of black folks who talk about a conspiracy and conspiracy. See, you don't have to have a conspiracy theory if you have institutional racism. You know, the white folks are not sitting in a room saying, all in favor of discriminating black people, raise your hand and say aye. That's not how it goes down. You set up unequal structures that provide unequal outcomes.
All right, y'all. So that was it. Let me know what you think. Thank you for being a part of this conversation again today. I wanted to end with that clip and that piece right there from Dr. Malveaux to give a little bit of historical perspective, you know, because not just people outside of our community, a lot of times inside of our community, we don't even know our own history and historical perspective of what has happened and why things are the way they are today. We think sometimes that we're just not doing enough. We're not lifting ourselves up by our bootstraps. What I tell you, as the founder of several brands specifically focused on the black community, even when we do, people complain about that. I can show you emails, voicemails, letters, notes, whatever. The best thing about it is I don't care because I'm still focused on moving my people to where I got to move my people to, and I could care less if anybody got a problem with it. Whether they inside our community, outside our community, I'm still here to serve a purpose God put me on this earth to do, and that's to help out black folks as it relates to their families and this community as a whole. And I love what Dr. Malveaux said there. You don't have to have conspiracy theory when you got institutional racism. It is up to all of us to do what we can in our ways. I encourage you, no matter what you're doing, to do more. I encourage you to get a hold. Somebody said, have we purchased previous videos? Generation1movie.com, generation1movie.com. Let me know if y'all are interested in the groups on social and the chats. If y'all are interested, you know, maybe we'll do a movie night or something and do a screening of it here online. We've never done that before, but maybe we'll do a screening of it online just as an education piece for our communities. Like I said, I'm a big believer in once the money, you shift where the money moves, then people start to pay attention. Then you have a voice and people begin to have a different perspective on what they care and don't care about when you have economic empowerment. All right, again, my name is Lamar Tyler, creator and founder of Traffic Sales and Profit, co-founder of blackandmarriedwithkids.com. I thank you. Whether you saw the whole thing or a piece of this, I appreciate you. Make sure you share it with somebody else and make sure you come back and watch the replay. I'll make sure we get this up on our YouTube pages in full. We streamed it there as well, but I'll make sure we get this up on our YouTube pages in full because this is a conversation you need to make sure you hear from beginning to end. Have a great day. Be vigilant, right? Do not be broken. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot going on. You definitely can be discouraged. You definitely can be dismayed, right? But do not give up. All right. If nobody love you, right? TSP, Black and Married with Kids family, love you. My wife, Ronnie, and I love you. And let's keep pressing on. Until the next time.